So we're on to February's monthly report. I shall try and get through it as quick as possible, bullet point everything, starting with CIG in Los Angeles. They say they're working on the new item system, or the item use system, allowing us more in-depth interactions with our ships and environment. Shield revamp is ongoing, as heard in Reverse the Verse. They're working on tweaks to the thrusters and EVA, cleaning up thruster effects by adding transitional effects when activating boost. Researching a more accurate way to calculate ship masses as well, that's going to be a big refactor. They're also on the white boxing tech design stage for the Caterpillar, which is where they find out where all the components are going to go, sort of the layout, and a list of all the weapons it'll have. Work on the Reliant is ongoing. They say they have completed the exterior level of details, the redesigned the cockpit and its UI, all part of the flight prep pass. Getting very close with that one. They have finished creating the high poly geometry for the undersuit armor and several UEE Navy item variants. I believe the image here is of the undersuit armor. They're also submitting the first pass for the heavy armor concept. Currently reviewing all the ship's level of details. At the moment reviewing the Mustang and the Hornet series. That'll add to the performance. And they're also performing level of detail passes on ship components, including landing gear, escape pods, thrusters and the intakes. They have completed the asset rigging and simulation setup for the UEE Navy BDU uniform and performed research and development for the rigging of the Van Duel. They've delved into the dialogue and narrative needs for the secondary cast members, fleshed out more of the landing zones, which unfortunately they haven't showed us yet, provided lore support for the ship components, helped out with developing narrative for the baby PU, and finally they have reviewed previously published galactic guides, resulting in a 120-page document with potential changes to bring the star map and the Galactopedia in sync. So that was in the LA office. Now onto the CIG in the Austin office. They have made great strides laying the back-end groundwork for persistence. They're testing the shopping feature, which will utilise Kasaba Outlet stocked with shirts, pants, jackets, so on and so forth. They're also thinking of other opportunities to utilise this, like player health, ship health and items, and currency and reputation. So they've got shopping phase 1 solidified. They'll be setting up clothes on the racks in Kasaba, tagging each item with UI tags, and they hope to populate the shops with enough to keep us engaged on the first release, but leave enough empty space to fill more down the line. Ship artists continue with the Herald. They have finished lighting passes on the shops in the Levski landing zone in Nix and Asteroid and business hangars. They've also completed several style guides for clothing manufacturers. They've developed animations for use in Astro Armada and G-Lock Bar. They've done some work on the various enter and exit speeds for the Avenger and the Aurora, which will carry this over to all the other ships. If you don't know, there's going to be 3 different speeds. Steady, which is what we see now. Quick, and then there's going to be sort of emergency speeds, both for exiting and entering cockpits. The friend system work has been wrapped up. They really can't get that in soon enough, and they're working on getting the patch update sizes much smaller, rather than roll out the whole build every time there's a new patch. Just release the actual changes. So Foundry 42 in the UK, they are working to improve the new player experience with a simplified UI set, and also refactor the control system to make it more consistent across EVA, FPS and flight. Now this doesn't mean that everyone will have to have the simplified UI set and simplified controls, it just means for those who are new to the game, they can select that rather than the full set that we are all playing with now. They're still working on the Mobi-Glass. They say it's an important part of both the PU and Squadron 42, so they want to get it right first time. Scanning for both cockpit and FPS is underway, and they're looking into getting sub-targeting of components into the game soon, so instead of having to target the full ship as a whole, you can specifically pinpoint different components. Very useful if you want to take out the communications or the shields. The Idris is getting closer to game ready state. They had their first forays in it in the test universe with the design team crewing it. I cannot believe they are flying that already. So excited to see that. They've added audio analytics to the system to keep track of any issues. As you know, we had a big issue with the bug where you could just hear firing all the time. So they're adding some more analytics to kind of keep track of all this stuff so it doesn't happen and doesn't escape them. They have worked on monitored zone system audio. We'll see that soon enough, but nothing more was said. With ships, for example, the Reliant they have created subtle notions in audio to express the forces and conditions of your ship. For example, a light fitting will rattle when the ship is under excessive gravitational forces. Very, very nice touch is this, and it's the subtle things like this which will just build the immersion while you're in the ship. Without it, you wouldn't even notice, but with it, you really can see the difference. They're also working on audio foley for footsteps in particular, and eventually, with every layer of clothing and equipment, the the sound will be represented to you based on what you're wearing. Firearm session is due for the audio as well, to capture outdoor gunfire in an urban environment. Turrets are having a bit of an overhaul as well. I'm so glad about that because at the moment they're pretty awful. Soon be able to use your radar to scan vehicles in more detail and get info as to their weapons and what cargo they're carrying. This is also determined by your choice of scanning hardware, so if you have a good high-end scanning hardware, you'll be able to get more information. And also, if they have blocking hardware, then it'll balance out that way. It'll also work quite similar in the FPS mode as well. Now they're updating the bloom and lens flare for a more subtle glow and shorter fall-offs. Some images there of that as well. And they've done some R&D into the Jan Scout visual effects. So the art team, again bullet points here, they have worked on the Idris Gravity Generator Room, the Idris Cargo Room, the Planet's Look, Vandal Weapon Look, the Bengal Hangar, the Bengal Bridge Console and Chair, Power Plants, Quantum Drives and Coolers, Shuban Pilot Briefing Room, the Shuban Bridge, a Redacted Ship Cargo Room, Research Station Look, the Scourge Railgun Final Pass, the Rail Attachment System, ammunition, and a small new ship, which I can only assume is the small mining ship. Character work is now beginning to match up with the rest of the game in terms of fidelity and quality. They are pulling the RSI Bengal into the metric system, twice as much visual with sort of less knock on the cost of the engine. The Idris and the Javelin have continued into final production. The Javelin will have more of a gritty feel to it as it suits its role and characteristics. And production is almost complete on the Starfarer base variant. So onto Foundry 42 in Frankfurt. In AI, they say the first pass refactoring of AI perception is done. This is audio and visual. There will be several more types of perception in the future. They have made good progress on subsumption, which is for the AI routines. AI won't use cover, which has previously been compromised, nor will they bunch too close together to an ally, which is very good. Cinematics are working on a scene right before the Bishop's speech took place. Further previs on some Bengal carrier scenes, and they're prepping a PCAP for Chapter Redacted involving a Starfarer. They're also helping improve the patcher so we don't have to download all the files which have changed rather than just the ones that need to be downloaded. They say focus is on Hurston's landing zone with the layout, the positioning of landmarks, vistas, landing pads and shops. It says the landing zone is buried within the heavy industrial planet of Hurston. There's an industrial sector, a civilian commons and an extensive business sector. Work is beginning on life support and decompressurization prototype. They have finished work on the oxygen, breathing and stamina system and how oxygen will travel from the suit tanks to the suit's internal capacity to the lungs and then into the bloodstream. Now they say levels of oxygen in the blood will affect your actions, and also they want to look at what will happen when you run out of O2, so it sounds like they're going into such minute detail with your oxygen levels and so forth. They've finalised design on how quantum drive and interdiction function and interact. Heavily looked at the loot generation and the actual loot system. They're trying to keep it realistic and immersive, but still manageable and entertaining. Work is also being done on player transactions. And in behaviour, they say they have designed, blueprinted and whiteboxed all the shop locations for the Hurston landing zone. There will be 10 in total. Few changes to the AR mode and the AR labels. And if you've seen my video on March item flare, the subscriber flare, you'll see this new AR information that has been attached. Very clean, very nice and just easy to read. Also, they've been working on the augmented reality prototype for the shopping experience, and also polishing, dressing and creating props to give each shop a distinct look. Finally, Turbulent have been creating new UI for the ship stats page. We'll have a better insight when comparing ships and where they are within the pipeline, and they have continued development on multi-factor authentication. Whew, now that was the monthly report. I've not put everything in there because all the rest was just about stuff we've already heard about or about bug fixing, which we all know is ongoing. But that is the more detailed information of what they've been doing over the past month and what may be coming into March as well. Anyway, tell me your thoughts. Lots of information there, lots of stuff. Very excited to see the Idris and the Javelin. I'm glad they're on the way. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.